when it comes to like a lot of people that I met in business, there is a moment in time, it could be a who or a what, like someone or something happens, or sometimes both, that their real estate career or their business career started.
Right.
Did you have a moment like that?
I did. So I was, I had been a shop owner on Main Street, and I was selling my home and the property that I had the business in. And I had hired a real estate agent, and it went awry, let's say. And I was actually going to be unemployed for the first time since I was like 11 years old.
Wow.
And I kind of went, because I was getting rid of the business. And I went, you know, maybe real estate's my next job. Maybe.
So was this in Mulligan?
It was.
So you had a home and a business.
Correct.
And the agent that had the responsibility for that transaction,
yes,
for whatever reason, something went awry.
Correct.
Now, it's interesting because they say like businesses are founded on like solutions to problems.
Yes.
So you decided real estate might be your way at that point.
Yes. I saw a lack of professionalism
for
what is generally one of the biggest transactions of your life. The professionalism should be there. And in my career, I've always wanted to be 5-star, the best of the best of whatever I've done. And I kind of went, you know, I'm not having that experience. I see a definite lack in the marketplace for that experience, and maybe it's time to fill that void.
What type of business did you have before it was real estate?
So I had something called the Country Christmas Shop. I sold antiques, and I did that because I wanted to be home and have a family.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was actually in radio, and I was a national sales manager and traveled the country.
Wow.
Handling 19 different outlets for 4 major radio stations in Philadelphia. So very professional.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of stay-at-home mom, country store, and then kind of went
cultured.
Yeah. Yes.
So you were in the throes of traveling consistently, and now I've been kind of in that mix lately, especially lately.
Right.
What were the pros of all that travel? What were the cons?
Oh my God, the pros were amazing. I love to travel, and I was married, and my husband did not like to travel, so that was a no-brainer. So I got to go to New York every 2 weeks, and I was on the West Coast, and I was in Michigan, and I was in Dallas, and got to see the best of everything, meet some amazing people who grew massive companies and help them figure out their presence online.
You meeting them, would you attribute that as like helping you grow?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're meeting people that are at the top of their business, it elevates you. You learn something from those people. You learn their businesses, their styles, and what they're looking for to get their business to the next level.
Was there anything in particular that when you were doing all that traveling and working with these types of people that stuck out to you, something that you learned?
Oh, I learned that really good, disciplined people rarely sleep, I guess is probably the way to say it.
Wait. This is a testimonial.
It is. And you know, people that are really good. I mean, I'd meet people at 7 in the morning for breakfast meetings, and you had to be there and be sharp and on your game. And so those were great experiences. And then, you know, meeting somebody for lunch and being prompt and knowing what made them tick and what was important to them. And then there were those that like to party late into the night, and you have to be able to work hard and play harder in the mind of a lot of people that are really out to have the best experience they can in life.
Wow.
And they've grown companies, they're entitled to it, right? So
before that experience, I'm curious who you were, like how you thought, and what was your redeeming qualities before? Like, this is way back. Right? This is what builds a company. Yeah. It's like who we were. What was that?
Persistence.
Okay.
Persistence. So when I got into radio, I'd never been in radio. I'd been on the air as a DJ, if you will, and you know, making not a lot of money. It's not very glamorous. It looks glamorous.
That's the person talking.
It's the person. You're the on-air personality, right?
Yeah.
So I did that for a number of years, thinking that was the thing. It wasn't my thing, right? I didn't make enough money, and I was kind of miserable.
What led you to it, though?
I've always loved news broadcasting, and that was my thing. In high school, I was a writer. I wanted to be a news broadcaster.
Wow.
Tried news broadcasting and hated it.
What was wrong with it?
It was too scripted. It was too narrow. There was no creativity involved, and there shouldn't be. That's really just, you're supposed to report.
Here we are. Let's just be real humans.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, it was too much of a box. And then I started looking around. But radio was my medium. From high school, I fell in love with radio in high school. I loved the medium, theater of the mind. So you're creating, you know, you're able to visualize. The same way with a book. I mean, I'm a reader. So it's theater
we're going to talk about that.
Right? So I loved radio. And so when I realized news broadcasting wasn't it, I went, all right, so I started copywriting. And I did voices on air. And then I finally got a shot at being on air. So I was an on-air DJ, had a blast in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Really?
Right? And so I had a great following overnights and even had stalkers. It was a blast.
Really?
I did.
You got to teach me about that because now,
you can have your own stalkers.
You have to judge your success by the amount of stalkers.
That's what I said. You had exactly. So I had stalkers. It was great, but it was so much fun. But really, the money wasn't there, and I was never going to be on par to make that kind of money. That just wasn't.
It wasn't. What was missing? Like, how did you see that coming? Because I feel like a lot of people never.
So for me, it was niche. Like I looked at, there's Howard Stearns, and that's not my personality. And then there's people that are just really good at, like a Debbie Cowton, who's just really good at being consistent and content with where she is. She's the pinnacle. She's very successful. Just had 25 years, but she's still in the same place. I get bored, right? So that's the other part.
You were always interested in learning and growing. You felt like you were in a box.
I was in a box.
So is that what led you to the sales then?
It did.
And now you're in that position, right? Like this is even before real estate, kicking ass, taking A's.
Right.
You're in that position. And you're a woman.
Yes.
And that does have something to do with it.
It has a lot to do with it. So when I got involved in radio in Philadelphia, so I got hired in Philadelphia by a man named Dean Tyler, great guy, and he took a chance on me because I was coming from, selling cable TV, and I'm talking 30 years ago, when cable was nothing, and giving me a shot at Philadelphia radio. So I am going, oh my God, this is awesome. And I learned how I found my niche selling WPN radio. Believe it or not, I sold Jay Lamont's All About Real Estate show.
Really?
Because it was the highest commission. Everything else was 5%, that was 25%. I'm like, I'm going here, right? Big deal.
Wow.
So I cultivated that and loved that business. And it was a lot more men.
Huh.
And they would have sales contests every month. So I'm driven, you like the money, but you like the pat on the back too, right? It's that. And as I got better at what I did, sales contests head to head with some of the best in the business. And I never forget a gentleman named Mark Taub one day says to me, so Nance, how many new pieces of business? It was all new business. How many new pieces of business are you bringing in today? And I looked at him and I said, one more than you. And he's like, oh shit. Right? I was like, all right. So that was me. It was like whatever it took. And or was it 7 o'clock at night dialing it in, going, here you go.
Okay, let's talk about the phone. Let's talk about dialing in. Did you have a mentor for that? Or was it the grit? What was it?
It was the grit. It was, so, I didn't have best childhood. I didn't have money growing up.
Okay.
My money was always tight. From the time I was 15, I was helping my parents pay bills. That was never going to be me. When I got into Philadelphia radio, when they hired me, they gave me a stipend and said, we'll bring in at 25. And I'm like, well, got a job. I had to travel an hour and a half from Princeton, New Jersey into Philadelphia every day. And, traveled in early, left late, would work out before I'd go home. They gave me a membership at Balkan, someplace to work out. But every day, and it was like, there's an opportunity. So the first year, I went from thinking I was going to make $24,000, and I made $48,000. I went, all right?
Yeah.
And then the next year, doubled it. And then once I got into triple digits, I was like, this is, and had fun with it, and helped bring other people up. You
know what's insane? Are you familiar with Grant Cardone?
I know the name, yes.
His president, or I guess his president, Jared Glenn, was talking in Vegas. He was just at an event and said the same thing. It's like that common denominator. Yeah. Drove in early, left late.
Always.
What did that do to your personal power? Would you say, what did it do to your personal power as a person?
Right. So it was for me, going from someone who was in rentals and in cars that died all the time, literally, I looked at the sales force and went, their cars don't die, that's what I want to do, right? That becomes, it's great to do the things that light you up, but at the end of the day, you still have to pay your bills, you have to survive, you have to be happy to be moving in what you're doing in the morning. So I found the niche. I love the creativity, and as I started to realize, it wasn't all about the money, but it was about being able to make my own choices. I didn't have things dictated to me. I didn't have to worry about where I was going to eat, what I was going to do. I could afford things. Then it became a bigger thing than that. Then it became I can take vacations, I can do other things. It's amazing what that allowed you to do.
Yeah.
Like, what's really funny?
Yeah.
Best year I ever had. So I bought a townhouse, I bought a Mercedes, I went on a 10-day trip to Switzerland. Right? I mean,
there you go.
Right, and I made $130,000 that year. And I became the most depressed I think I've ever been in my life. And it was like one of those, whoa, what happened? Because I don't think I saw myself going beyond that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Right? So it took me a good 4 weeks, 5 weeks to figure it out. I'd never been depressed before in my life, really, truly like.
So you achieved everything
that I thought I could do.
Like, it's almost a metaphor for, like, humans.
Yes. And then I was literally depressed. And I was like, And it took me time to figure it out. And it was pretty upsetting, believe it or not. It's like that I just picked up a new Mercedes, brand new townhouse I had built, like it all came together. But the thing that I discovered is that it is not just about the money.
Wow.
So here I was with all this material success going, you still feel empty, right? Weird, kind of. So you start to work on yourself, and it's like, well, what am I missing here?
So okay, so you started. You made a decision at one point. You were in a funk for about a month. You said.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it a who or a what?
So at that point, I realized for me that, believe it or not, I always said I was never going to have a family. I didn't have the best childhood growing up. And I realized I really wanted a family. Because at that point, what was I doing all of this for, right? I wanted to, I helped friends and I mentored other people in the office. Nance, what are you doing? What can you teach me? But then I also felt like I needed something more. So, I went and got a dog and Maggie was my it for a while, but I realized I really needed and wanted to have kids. I really wanted to, and I decided at that point to start a family. And, it's
that's amazing.
It took a few years for that to all work out.
So being that my mother left me in a Newark police department when I was 3 months old, and I never met her ever again.
Okay.
I was adopted by a 50-year-old woman who was more like a roommate, and I've always felt the void in my life. I'm single, and you can call 267-88. I'm sure I should have a family. Would you say like that was for you? Because I hear a lot of like my story and what you're talking about right now.
It was for me. It took time, and it came down to what is all of this for? Like the money aside, I have security. I know I can support myself, but there was still that void. I wanted to, and I'll be very candid here. I actually drank a bit more than I probably should have a couple times.
Joining the culture,
right? And so I was like, trying to figure it out. And then it hit me one day that it was like, I really want to have a child. I want to do this the right way. I want to do it the way that I didn't have experience. And that was very powerful.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 children.
That's amazing. And a boy or girl?
So my daughter is 21 and my son is 19.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're amazing experiences. I do.
And okay, so are they looking at real estate?
Funny enough, so my both my kids, they watched me. I did get divorced after 20-year marriage and had to start over again financially.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it was the catalyst actually that.
Yeah, people say like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
It was
a divorce that was supposed to, bro. Like, are we going to tell the truth or what?
No, it was. It's never a fun thing. Like, it's going to be devastating for the family, but at the same time, it's a rebirth, and it was the right thing for everybody.
100% of people that stay are miserable.
That's exactly why I did not do that. My parents did, and hence I had a lousy childhood. That was not one. That's been my
experience. When I was in high school, I had a girlfriend named Angelina. She had just gotten divorced. I'm just kidding. It's good for everybody.
It really was. And so when I was after I divorced, and I was renting for the first time since I was a teenager. I was back to not owning a home and trying to figure it out, and didn't have support from my ex. And so my
kids. Was this all around the same time as you were?
All around the same time.
So 2005, you got into real estate.
That's correct. So actually, I shouldn't say that. I was still married 5 years prior when I had got my license. Just didn't do anything with it. There were too many things.
So the first 5 years
did very little with it. Very little. Kind of tried to figure it out. Spent more time with my kids. They were little. And kind of wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. So wasn't very motivated at that time. And then when things fell apart, kind of went, got no choice.
Wow. So if I'm looking, from an eagle's view, you from adversity driven to really make it happen with that national radio company, that opportunity you never had in your life, and you made it happen. Like when that obstacle came, you made it happen.
Yes.
And that seemed as though that wasn't going to make it happen.
Right.
So you made a new decision and started a family. Did you continue building that radio company while you were developing your family, and you did that for some time?
So what happened, so interestingly enough, my first year after I had my daughter, I was still traveling. I traveled every 2 weeks, and I was gone. So I would go to New York for 3 days at a time, but when I would go to Chicago or Dallas, I'd be gone for days. And I would when I would leave, I would cry, and when I would come home, I would cry. And I was like, this is insane. So I'll never forget waiting for the plane to be de-iced for the 5th time in Chicago, going, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? Because I wanted to get home to my daughter.
Yeah, that's cute.
And then I came back and said, I'm debt-free, right? I have made choices. I had put money away and said, I'm walking away from the business. I want to be home. I don't want to have a family that gets raised by somebody else. To me, that was important. That was very important to me. And I literally walked in and gave 2 weeks notice, and I'll never forget the manager's name going, who's trying to hire you? We'll pay you more. It's fine. And I went, no, I'm staying home with my kids. I want to have another. I want to be home with my daughter. And I walked away. They called it golden handcuffs. They thought I'd never leave. It was a lot of money. But I did. And I stayed home for the next 5 years and had a son 2 years later and just enjoyed my kids until they started kindergarten.
So it's interesting you bring that up. There's a massive amount of this type of conversation on the media now about women, the conversation, equality of outcome, women in the workplace, work pay, unbalanced. And there's one side of the equation I'm hearing, saying, listen, at the end of the day, women that kick ass and take names, they eventually want families.
Absolutely.
So regardless of how good they are, like this has been a thing in the legal industry, like women that become partners, they all inevitably lead to start families.
Right.
So what was that psychologically to you? Like, because in the mind of someone that's done that, you were massively successful in your real estate, first in your sales business,
yes.
And then you decided to build a family. What was going on in your mind to justify that decision? Because I feel like there's so many women that are going to make that decision someday. So I'd even argue that women kick more ass than men in business and as a whole.
Right. I like it. I'll go with that.
I said that.
So it's one of those things that when I made that decision, I had, as I said, I'd saved money, I'd set aside money, and I said the thing that is irreplaceable is the time of my kids growing up. I can't, so no matter what else I do in my life that I can screw up, I don't want to screw this part up. And to me, again, it went back to my upbringing. Everybody's different. There's many successful women that, 6 weeks after they give birth, they're back at work and they're fine. And that's their path. My path was I wanted to be home, and it was important to me. That was, when I made the decision to have kids, I said, I'm going to be home. I'm not, and I wasn't able to do that until 2 weeks before her first birthday when I quit. And then I stayed away as long as I could. And I did. We ended up in debt, and we ended up in different situations. But it was like, listen, I know I can make that money back and fix that.
Wow.
I can't get back the first 5 years of life that they're home with me.
Where did that vision come from, or that confidence come from, that you were like, oh, well, we're starting to slide a little down, but this is worth it, I'll get it back? A lot of people wouldn't have that fortitude. That
comes from the fact that I did it the first time. If I can do this, it's repeatable. And I have faith in myself. I know, just like when I said to Mark Todd that day, one more than you, like I'll do what it takes. I know how to do this, and I have a proven record. So I know there were people that reached out while I was home with my daughter. Come to work for me for 2 or 3 days, and we'll give you almost the full salary. And I was like, they know I can't do it halfway, so they want me to come back desperately. But I stuck it out, and then as luck would have it, things kind of changed and morphed for me, which is even better.
What was the wake-up call or thought to start a business from, or did you go back to radio?
No, so when I had a small little store called the Country Christmas Shop, because I thought when I left radio I was going to be bored being a housewife.
Yeah.
So not true.
Oh,
but I didn't. I mean, I remember thinking I've always worked since I was 11. I can't imagine just being home with the kids. How easy is that? It is the hardest flipping job on the planet. But I didn't know.
Wait, so I should call Barbara and tell her sorry for raising me? I was a real dick.
So I'm sure it helped her grow too. It is, listen, you go from being able to take a coffee break, go to the bathroom by yourself, you're a mom, you can't do any of those things.
It seems difficult.
And I like to say, I went from traveling the country to everything was within 3 miles. Talk about a culture shock, right? And everything was right here. None of my friends were stay-at-home moms.
Who?
None of them.
Did you feel lonely?
Very lonely. Very, very lonely. So what happened there, so I started looking around. I'd go to the park and I would say, I'm trying to pick up moms at the park, because I'd see someone pushing their daughter and I'd go over and, so hi, do you live around here? Trying to meet other moms in that situation. I started going to township committee meetings.
Wow.
Because it was time away and it was other adults.
I'm almost mad you didn't get into real estate then. More than I'm hearing you.
It all led, all things all read. It's so funny because all of that came to fruition. And the more I got involved in the town, so I had my own little Christmas shop, and I got involved.
Yeah, so you started building relationships while you were raising your kids, because it's like, all right, now what? And then where did the idea come with the shop?
So for the Christmas shop or this business?
Yeah, the Christmas shop.
So while I was still working in radio, I sat down and planned out one day and said, okay, when I want to have kids, I want to be home, I want to have a business. And I looked around at different types of businesses. I fell in love with this property in a magazine for Mullica Hill, and I loved the area. Came and found it, went, okay, maybe we can do this in a couple of years. And did it 5 months later. So
wow.
It was like one of those, I sat down and planned out, put up together a 5-year plan, and it literally came together in 5 months.
Wow.
Right, so it was, well, if you look at my Facebook page, Jay, right, it says, once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. I completely believe in that.
That's my life story, yours life story.
It is. So that all came together with me opening the shop. I had that business for 4 years before I left radio.
Okay.
So I ran the business. Because it took me a little while to have the family, so I did all of that at the same time.
Wow. Okay, so people always ask, where they can buy more time. What is your process then to be able to juggle a family, a radio business, and a shop?
It was chaos. It was. I hired people to help.
So you're honest. Then.
It was chaos.
We're not going to sell the course on the time block. No, it's chaos.
No, it was chaos. There were times, I'll confess.
Okay.
I would, Monday through Friday I was running, and traveling, and then. I'd get home for Saturday, Sunday, go, okay, I have to work the office, or work the shop this weekend because, Lori's needs the day off.
So you had people running the shop
So I had people running the shop while I was away, and then on the weekend, because I wanted to be in touch, and I wanted to be out there, or someone needed to be off.
Wow.
And I'd be like, okay, so I would have Alex over here, and I'd be out there waiting on customers, and I had a playpen in the shop, because she was with me.
What gave you the power? Was it your vision that this was going to be your thing?
Yeah. It was my vision that there will be a way to integrate all of it, because I was told I wasn't going to make it in radio. I was told I wasn't going to make it in many other things I had done, and I found a way. You find a way if it's something you really believe in.
Yeah.
And so, I still have articles of me holding the baby, people coming to and saying, what's so cool about this shop in Mullica Hill? It was a destination, it was a cool place, and it was an experience.
It seems like when I walk into your real estate company, it's extremely, the word is, I would say, I don't want to, it's like, eccentric,
yeah.
In a positive, inspiring way. I really like. I work with there's architecture. I'm not an artsy person. I don't think in that
but
kind.
But you know what to appreciate.
Heck yeah! I think creative sees creative.
Right.
So was your shop a way for you to be creative?
Yes.
Is that in part of your nature?
It was. It was really, and I never really thought of myself that way. But as I did more things at the shop, I would recreate scenes every couple of months, because it was open year round. So a year round Christmas shop, you have to reinvent the wheel a bunch of times.
Wow.
So I would do different things. I would paint different vignettes. I would move things around. I had fun with it. I did other things. I started bringing antiques in.
Huh.
Believe it or not, I started making jewelry, which actually made me a lot of money for a while too, which was pretty cool.
Interesting.
So I actually made jewelry. It was my way of staying busy at the end of the day.
Have you always been creative?
No.
What about when you're a teenager and you're in school? What is your least favorite class and your most favorite class?
So I loved to read. I wanted to be an English major. I wanted to be a writer.
Really?
I really wanted to be I thought journalism.
I don't know anyone that likes to read books.
So yeah, right? But I love to read. I went to work and worked as a cashier, did what I had to do. But for me, it was really about survival, because it was about me getting out of my house. So it was about me working, and then I escaped into books. Period. And that
When did you move out?
I moved out before I graduated high school.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I lived in a small little apartment with my mother, who's in her years now at this point.
Right.
And she was really pleasant. I just wasn't.
Right.
So I was the opposite. Maybe you sounded pleasant.
Maybe not.
But it was a friction environment, and I had to leave.
Okay.
So I ended up living with a Cuban family.
Okay.
And I learned how to dance bachata.
Okay.
Anyway, so do you believe that gave you a lot of your personal ambition and desire that you translated to build this beautiful family, this beautiful business?
I do. So, it's funny because I look at my family. My dad was a Vietnam vet, and I know that played into it, him being the difficult person that he was. He was an alcoholic. He still is. That's why I don't speak to him. So, and my mom survived, and she was young. She was 17 when she had me. So there was a lot of things that they didn't have the ability. So I look back now.
Yeah, they're young.
They were trying to figure it out. You know, as a young adult, I didn't have such a favorable view of that. I mean, I originally thought, hell, I'm never having kids. I don't ever want to go through this. I just want to be independent. I want to take care of me. It was all about me because I needed to get away from that. And that's absolute truth. And you know, I have a better relationship with my mother now.
It's awesome.
But you know, it's hard. But it was being self-sufficient. I had a younger brother and sister that I literally brought up because they were so involved with fighting with each other.
So you became, in a sense, your parents.
Yeah, yeah.
Interestingly enough, a lot of business owners I meet get that conditioning.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I became my mom and my father, actually. I didn't tell my mother I loved her until I was 21.
Oh, wow.
And I am my father. I never met him. Okay. So it's like it happened for me.
Right.
Like now you have a company of all these people relying on you. It's a good thing you raised your siblings.
Right.
That's like the practice that you needed. So you know, you have this shop. Was it a thing of where is like you did it and you're like, there's got to be something more? So 2005 was an interesting time in the economy. Things were actually going really well. There was a lot of what you call it, like people were killing it in real estate. They must have been very shiny.
It was before me, so it was literally. The shop had outgrown its usefulness to me. So I had that shop because I wanted to be there and raise my kids. But at a certain point, I couldn't find help that was reliable enough. So now I'm missing swim meets. I'm missing you know, dance practice. I'm missing things because I have to be there because no one else is running the shop.
It was almost like you owned a job at that point.
That's exactly what I did. I owned a job and said, you know what? There was a catalyst I pulled out of my driveway because it's right on 322 near the corner.
Oh, wow.
And I got into an accident with both my kids in the car. And someone coming around the corner and hit me, and it was kind of, that was like, all right, that's it, we're moving. Wow. And I'm closing the shop, and it was like in that split second, nobody was hurt.
So that was the paradigm shift.
That was it. It was like, you know what, nothing is worth this. And then, you know, I think my daughter was 6, and I was like, you know, 10 years, if I'm still here, she's pulling out of this driveway, she's dead. Like, you can't,
wow.
You can't. So it was like time to shift. So I shifted. You know, and that selling that business was what ultimately propelled me.
You were selling the business and you were selling your house, correct?
Yes, yeah.
And then someone comes in that may or may not, but maybe it was well, these part-time agents that we keep hearing about.
Right.
Some of them do really good, obviously.
They do.
And you saw that as, well, I can do this better. But what was the allure though? Was it like, oh, well, you can work from anywhere kind of thing? I mean, you didn't need a brick and mortar at the time?
I think the allure was, it was twofold. So the first one was professionalism, was the absolute anger. 6 months of a contract, you know, not being that agent's phone. Every time I called, the voicemail was full. No one ever called me back. And I was like, how does anybody have a business like this?
Wow.
Like, I could never run a business. I've had businesses. That would never be me. So I thought, well, so that would change. And so that, and then I had literally had 2 mortgages for a period of time. And I made sure, and so it was like, all right, money.
So you were like an expired listing.
Yeah, I was totally an expired listing.
So how do we feel about calling them? I love them.
You know what? Once
they need our help.
They desperately. So are you still interested in getting your home sold? Absolutely.
Yeah, if you sold it, where would you next? How soon do you have to be there? Where do you get stop and selling?
That's right.
Stop. Oh, so that was you.
That was me.
I'm not that. You're doing all this good. You're helping hundreds of people move and buy houses. And the thing about it, you were the person
I was. And
that one of your agents is calling.
Right.
That's powerful.
That is. And I went,
it's like,
this has to stop. So I literally put a for sale by owner sign out front. I did.
You were a FISBO?
I was a FISBO. And my phone rang off the hook. I got my license in, you know, in 3 weeks. You go take a class, you take a test. I'm like, my license now, of course, I know nothing. But my phone's ringing off the hook. So it took me about 4 months to get the home sold, but I did. And I learned a lot. And I, you know, and again, at that point I learned, but I took my time. Everything was starting to tank. This is 2006, 2007, as everything's going off a cliff.
So you didn't get into business that time?
I got in, but really kept pulling, you know, did maybe a dozen deals a year. I was home with the kids.
That's still way, well, that's funny. That's still way more than the average agent does.
You're right.
Those agents aren't into business.
But back then I thought that was like horrendous because
everybody was killing it on false, you know, false. It was false.
Exactly.
So you still were doing work. All right. So what was the year where you went from 12 to just like doing something full time? Because
that was when I got divorced.
Interesting.
So I got divorced and I moved back. So stayed in my house for about a year. without any support. And so now I'm paying for a 3,600 square foot home with $13,000 in taxes a year by myself with 2 kids, and going, okay, this is not sustainable. So I had to break into my 401k and liquidate it to stay afloat. And it was right around the time when, in my kids, you know, I didn't want things to change for them. I mean, I think every parent goes through that. You know, it's devastating for them to, you know, for the relationships to change. But then now we're going to be displaced and someplace else. But it was, my son actually came up to me and said, Mom, I think we need to move. It's too quiet out here. And I went, and I was like, and part of me knew that as long as I was okay, my kids would always be okay. However, it just, you know, the timing wasn't right. So I watched the market and I saw things start to shift ever so slightly. And I was like, all right, it's time to sell the house.